Welcome to Owie and Sandy Math Along. I'm Sandy.
And I'm Owie.
Number 8. Which of these lists could be the side angles of a triangle? And they give you 5 different options. I am going to go over 2 of those options with you. Little hints, neither of the ones I'm doing are the answer. So let's look at A, 1, 3, 5. Now in class we did a Kahoot where we were looking to see if they were right triangles. On this one, we're just looking to see if they're triangles. So remember, any 2 sides have to add up to be greater than the third side. So that means if we take our 2 smallest sides, 1 plus 3, that has to be greater than the largest side of 5. And if we do that, we get 4. That's not greater than 5. That does not work. So let's look at part E. 5 plus 12 would have to be greater than 25. 5 plus 12 is 17, which is not greater than 25. Remember, the greater than sign is an alligator and it eats the biggest number. Okay, so neither of those are the answer. B, C, D, I'm leaving up to you. Number 9, 2 similar triangles have length ratios of 2 to 3. The hypotenuse of the larger is 66. How long is the hypotenuse of the smaller? I always like to start with a visual of the triangles. So I just want to see them. We do have a hint here. A hypotenuse immediately means we have a right angle. Remember, it's like an arrow. This 90 degrees is like an arrow pointing at our hypotenuse. Okay, you guys see that? Points right at the hypotenuse. So they are in a ratio of 2 to 3. I'm just going to kind of write that above them. Okay, the hypotenuse of the larger is 66. And we want to know what is the hypotenuse of the smaller. I'm going to call it X. You could call it C. You could call it Sandy. You can call it whatever you want. Just name it something. Okay. So if we're in a ratio of 2 to 3, 2 is to 3 as X is to 66. Okay. 2 relates to 3 as X relates to 66. That would hold true if we had numbers here and here or here and here. So that would hold true regardless of which sides we're looking at, as long as they correspond to one another, as long as they are on the same part of the similar triangles. So if you can just look at this and tell what to do, that's fine. I noticed 3 times 22 would give me 66. So I'm guessing we would also multiply 2 by 22. Okay. The other way to do it is cross multiply, if you're more comfortable with that. 2 times 66. I don't want to get out the calculator, so we'll have 132 equals 3 times X. Divide both sides by 3, and we get 44 is equal to X. And that shouldn't be such a big surprise to us because when I was looking at this, I said 3 times 22 is 66. 2 times 22 is 44. So whichever way you prefer to do this problem is fine with me. You could even multiply both sides by 66 to cancel it out and be left with just an X on that side. So that's 3 different ways you could do this problem. There's probably more. As long as you get the right answer, I'm cool. Just stay within the rules of math, do it the way you've learned it, and I'm fine with you getting the correct answer either way, or do it more than one way to check your answer. In triangle PQR, angle P is 40 and angle Q is 75. Which of the following lists the sides of the triangle from shortest to longest? So I want to go short and then medium and long. So drawing a picture on this one is really not optional. It would be extremely hard for me to do in my head without drawing it. I'm less of an artistic person than some of you, albeit, but you need to draw the picture so you can actually see what you're working with. So I am going to draw a triangle, PQR. The exact dimensions don't matter. What I just drew, it looks equilateral, but it's not, because I'm going to write in PQR. I'm going to write our P of 40, and I'm going to write our Q of 75. Obviously not to scale, but it helps us visualize what this triangle actually looks like. Now, we all know a triangle has 180 degrees total. So I'm going to subtract 75 and 40 from 180. Okay. I'm going to add them first, then subtract it. So that's going to be 515. That's going to give us our measurement for R. I get 65. Okay. Now comes the part where we need to label these shortest to longest. Remember, the shortest sides are across from the smallest angles. The longest sides are across from the largest angles. Okay, that's part of that AppleRouth triangles lesson we did together in class, and that you all did the lesson on this week. So if we look at these, 40 is our least. We are going to look across the triangle at the corresponding leg. And that is between Q and R. So my shortest is QR. My largest is 75. 75 comes across to PR. Okay, my longest then is PR. And then last but not least is the one in the middle. 65 is between those numbers. We go all the way across, and it's corresponding to QP. QP. Remember, the alligator eats the bigger number. So the alligator wants to eat PR. The alligator wants to eat QP. The alligator's not even looking at QR because it's the shortest. Who cares? Okay, so at this point, we look at our answer choices and we see which one looks just like this. Pay attention to the way that alligator's eating. Of course, your problem has slightly different numbers. In the figure on the board, PQ and ST are perpendicular to PS, thus the 90-degree angles. PR is 16, RS is 4, and ST is 3. What is the length of QT? QT spans from down here all the way up to right there. In finding PQ, I'm going to need to find this section and this section. Okay, so let me work on this one first because, and I'm going to call this C because it's straight across. We have that arrow pointing to our hypotenuse. I have a right triangle, so this is an A squared plus B squared equals C squared situation. And you've seen this triangle in class more than one time. If you played the Kahoot, you've seen it twice just in that Kahoot. It's a special triangle, but let's do it the Pythagorean theorem way. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. 9 plus 16 equals C squared. That's 25 equals C squared. And where a lot of you keep making a mistake, you have to take the square root of both sides. We don't want to know what C squared is. This isn't C squared, it's just C. So we have to take that square root of both sides. Okay, now C on its own is equal to 5. It's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And I'm moving my head around so much that my bun came out. Not my bun. Okay, so we know this length is 5. That's part of what we had to figure out. Now we have 0 indication that this is a midpoint, so we cannot assume that's a 5. In fact, it is not a 5. But what we do know is we have those similar triangles. Okay, so RST and RPQ are similar triangles. We can compare our different lengths and figure out what the scale factor is. So I'm going to compare my small to my large triangle. And on the small, between our 90-degree angle and our middle, our vertical angles there, is 16. So we have a comparison that can help us with that scale factor. Comparing again, my hypotenuse is a 5 compared to the hypotenuse here, which we don't know. Now, you could call it CX question mark. You could call it QR, which would probably be the most proper way to do it. I'm going to put question mark. I would put C, but I don't want to get confused with the C we already found. So now we're going to do that whole comparison where we say 4 is to 16 as 5 is to question mark. Okay, they grow at the same rate. And I didn't make this comparison in class. Maybe I will tomorrow. But when they're similar, what that means is you can take the small one, pretend it's an Instagram, and you can make it bigger. Okay, you can zoom in. And when you zoom in, it doesn't distort anything. It just makes everything bigger at the same time. It's a dilation. So when you do that, then it's going to look like this one. Okay, so the scale factor is figuring out how far we stretch this to make it match up to the sizes on that one. Okay, so imagine taking my face on the YouTube screen right now and making it bigger. My proportions will be the same, but my head will look bigger on your screen. And that's what we're doing here. Now, the factor that it goes to is 4 to 16 in comparison to 5 to question mark. This is. So if we're just looking at it, you could say, hey, I have to multiply that by 4. Okay, you do the same thing here, and we end up with 20. That is going to be our answer. I'm also going to do it another way. We can also cross multiply. So I can say 4 question mark is equal to 5 times 16. 5 times 16, I believe, is 80. And I have 4 times my question mark. Divide both sides by 4. And my question mark is 20. Okay, so I did the longer way. I did it the shorter way of saying 4 times 4. So we have to do the same thing to our 5. I don't mind which way you do it. Like I said on one of the previous problems, do it whichever way you want to do it, that you've learned before, that you're the most comfortable with. And if you get the right answer within the rules of math, I'm fine. Now, don't get too excited because that is not our final answer. Our final answer, the length of QT, we have to put this and this together. That means 20 plus our 5 gives us a length of 25 for QT. Number 14. So you have a staircase and you need to change it from a staircase to a ramp. Okay, so maybe mom, dad, grandma, whoever it is, needs a wheelchair. So this is one of those real life problems that everybody in class was asking me about today. And yeah, this could really happen, right? There's like an OE gremlin running around behind me. I don't know if I can see you, but all right. So we have our staircase. Mine has 6'7", 6'7", 6". And then we're gonna build this ramp in between. Your numbers are a little bit different. One thing you could do is put this in the coordinate plane. Okay, that could help you. What I like to do is just kind of use my tick marks. Okay, I'm gonna draw a triangle on the outside here. Now, your first inclination when you look at this might be to like look at all these little triangles being made, but as you can see, the ramp doesn't necessarily hit those all at the same angle. So I'm going to measure out my 2 legs. I made a 90-degree triangle here as well. Okay, 90 degree. So I have a 1, 2, 3 different steps that go across that are all 6 in length. So 6, 12, 18. I'm just writing it weird. 18 across, 14 going up. And I hope everybody sees how that works. Okay? We look at our horizontal, and then we look at the vertical going up. Okay, so those are our ups, those are our sides. Well, now I have a right triangle where I want to know the length of the hypotenuse. So we go back to our favorite, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and I have 18 squared plus 14 squared equals c squared. 18 squared, where's an Owen when you need him? He got sidetracked and now he's not in here to do this in his head for me. I believe it's 324. And 14 squared, 196 equals c squared. You can use a calculator for that, no big deal, okay? Add these together, we get 520 is equal to c squared. Remember that is c squared and not just c. Take the square root of both sides. We're filming still, and we'll figure out what c is equal to. Let me use my calculator real quick. Where did you get a soda?
Don't know.
You don't know. Okay, and we get 22.8. He's drinking soda. And they did say this is in inches. So it's 22.8 inches. Yours, I believe, will come out to a whole number. So you won't have to worry about rounding. Yeah, you'll just get a whole number for it.